Hello friends. What happens when the soft shell of a Cancer soul meets the sly elegance of the Chinese zodiac snake? You get a person so complex, so magnetic, that trying to understand them is like unraveling a silk scarf in a thunderstorm, smooth, beautiful, but never entirely predictable. Let's dig deep into this character, a person born under the Cancer sun sign, paired with the year of the snake. This is someone shaped by the waters of emotion, ruled by the moon, and laced with the quiet cunning of the snake, earthly, wise, sensual, and always one step ahead. Love, deep waters, hidden currents. At first glance, Cancer snake individuals might not catch your attention as overtly romantic or passionately demonstrative. They don't flaunt emotions or orchestrate grand gestures for the world to see. You won't find them making dramatic declarations on social media or planning movie-worthy proposals. Their version of love is far more reserved, intimate, and mysterious. But don't let that cool surface fool you. Beneath their composed expression and quiet demeanor simmers an emotional intensity few could ever imagine. They experience love like a deep current beneath still water, unseen by many, but impossible to escape once you're pulled in. Their feelings are not performative. They're profound, immersive, and silently powerful. To love them is to be swept into something vast and elemental, like the ocean itself, nurturing one moment, stormy the next, always unpredictable, and absolutely unforgettable. These individuals don't fall in love often, and they certainly don't fall easily. Love, to a Cancer snake, is not casual. It's not a pastime or a phase. It's destiny. It must feel predestined, soul-bound, karmic, a cosmic thread tying two spirits together across lifetimes. Anything less is dismissed as a distraction. The Cancer side of them is deeply intuitive and emotional, always seeking connection on a heart-to-heart level. But when blended with the snake's strategic mind and magnetic charisma, what emerges is a lover who seduces not with force, but with subtlety, a glance, a well-timed word, a lingering silence that says more than conversation ever could. They pursue emotional depth and spiritual fusion, not surface-level attraction. And when they find someone who mirrors that same yearning, someone who feels like home and mystery at once, they devote themselves with an intensity that borders on sacred. Once committed, they don't just love, they protect. Cancer's instinct is to shield what they care about, while the snake adds an element of control. This means their love can feel both like a warm embrace and an unbreakable grip. They become deeply entwined with their partner's emotional landscape, memorizing every pattern, mood, and vulnerability. They are astonishingly loyal, but that loyalty must be mutual. Trust is everything, and any hint of betrayal, even emotional distance, can unleash their darker instincts. The wounded Cancer retreats behind emotional walls, sulking in silence. The snake, meanwhile, may seek subtle revenge or emotional leverage. Together, they don't explode, they withdraw. They punish with absence, coldness, or quiet judgment that cuts deeper than words. A partner who violates their trust won't be met with confrontation, they'll be met with the slow closing of doors they didn't even realize were open. And yet, for those who prove themselves worthy, who are patient, emotionally honest, and steady, the Cancer snake offers a kind of love most people never experience. They don't just share their time or affection, they share their inner world. It's not easy to reach, there are layers of defenses, old wounds, fears of abandonment and rejection. But if you take the time to understand them, respect their boundaries, and offer consistency, you'll find yourself inside a space that feels like emotional sanctuary. They build a kind of intimacy that's wordless, instinctual, spiritual. You'll feel known without explanation, touched without physical contact, and protected even when they're not in the room. This is a love rooted in devotion, not always easy, but always real. They see love as legacy. Not a fleeting romance, but something to be remembered, something that imprints. Every action in the relationship, no matter how small, is remembered, categorized, and emotionally filed away. The Cancer in them clings to sentimental details, the way you laughed the first time you met, the exact phrase you used when you were scared, your childhood stories. The snake uses this emotional data to bond deeper, to intuit your unspoken needs, to create a relationship so tailored and intimate, it feels like no one else could possibly understand it, or you. The result? A kind of emotional exclusivity that's rare in a world full of shallow connections. They don't just want your heart. They want your patterns, your fears, your dreams, your shadows, and in exchange, they'll offer the same. Slowly. Carefully. But fully. In a world obsessed with speed and surface, the Cancer snake's approach to love is refreshingly ancient. They love like old souls, with reverence and ritual, devotion and depth. It's not for everyone. But for those who are ready, really ready, to be seen, protected, and loved in ways that linger long after the moment passes, this kind of love isn't just fulfilling. It's transformational. Sex, sensual, strategic, soulful. Let's not mistake subtlety for passivity. Cancer snake individuals are deeply sensual beings, but their approach to sex is anything but conventional. They're not the loudest in the room, and they rarely pursue with obvious signals or overt propositions. Instead, their allure lies in restraint, in a calm, confident presence that pulls attention without asking for it. They know the power of mystery, of absence, of a gaze held 1 second too long. While others might throw charm like confetti, the Cancer snake seduces with stillness, timing, and silence that hums with possibility. One look, one word delivered just right, and suddenly, you're spiraling into obsession. They don't chase, they invite. And their invitation is never direct, never hurried. It's intuitive, magnetic, and deeply personal, designed to make you wonder whether you found them, or they found you. Their sexual energy is layered with intelligence. This isn't random chemistry, it's curated connection. Every move they make is deliberate, measured, and laced with intent. The snake within them is elegant and calculating, always in control, always 2 steps ahead in the dance of desire. The Cancer side, however, adds emotional resonance, an ability to read unspoken needs, to feel their partner's mood and rhythm as if it were their own. Together, these energies create a lover who doesn't simply perform, they tune in. They listen with their whole body. They sense vulnerability and either cradle it or press into it, depending on what the moment calls for. Every touch is intuitive. Every pause is purposeful. Every moment of closeness is elevated from a physical act to a meaningful exchange, one that often feels spiritual. Anticipation is their favorite tool. They don't rush, and they rarely reveal all of themselves at once. Instead, they craft tension like a composer builds toward a crescendo, slowly, thoughtfully, masterfully. A brush of skin that's almost accidental. A whisper instead of a shout. A moment that lingers long after it's over. Their approach is psychological as much as it is physical. For them, sex is a game of depth, a slow unraveling of secrets, a shared act of trust and surrender. They want to be wanted, yes, but more than that, they want to be needed, craved, remembered. And they're experts at creating that exact imprint. Their lovers often find themselves thinking back to moments that weren't even explicitly sexual, just deeply charged. A glance. A goodbye. A smile that said more than a sentence ever could. Sex, for the Cancer snake, is not about conquest. It's not about numbers or novelty. It's about connection, deep, personal, and irreplaceable. One-night stands hold little appeal to them unless they contain a moment of emotional truth. Even casual encounters are never truly casual with them, because they bring too much presence into every moment. When they engage sexually, they bring their entire emotional landscape with them, vulnerability, intuition, memory, and longing. It's not just about bodies, it's about energy. Chemistry. Soul compatibility. When they feel emotionally connected to someone, sex becomes a ritual, a sacred space where masks fall away and true selves are exposed. And in that space, they are generous, attentive, and often transformative. They don't seek just to pleasure, they seek to understand through touch. to heal, to claim. And when that connection is real, they give themselves completely. But there's a shadow side, as there always is with people this emotionally charged. The snake, though elegant, is secretive. It holds back. It watches and waits, and sometimes manipulates. The Cancer, while loving, never forgets how it's been hurt. When they feel unsafe, betrayed, or unseen, they retreat, not physically, but emotionally. They may still touch you, but the warmth will be gone. The soul won't be present. They can become cold and withholding, using intimacy as a tool for control or distance. Worse still, they can make their partners feel like they're the problem, subtly shifting blame, withdrawing affection, creating emotional puzzles no one can solve. Sex becomes a mirror of their inner world, and if that world is wounded, confused, or insecure, their sensuality turns guarded and inaccessible. And yet, this complexity is what makes them unforgettable lovers. Because when they are open, when they trust you, when they feel seen and safe, they will offer a level of intimacy that's profound. Not just satisfying, but elevating. They make sex feel sacred, like a secret only the two of you share. A place beyond words, where every gesture means something deeper. And once you've experienced that, once you've been truly felt by a Cancer snake, it's very, very difficult to forget. Marriage, a fortress of loyalty with a panic room. For the Cancer snake, marriage is not just a ceremony or a legal contract, it's a deeply personal, spiritual alliance that transcends surface expectations. They don't walk down the aisle lightly. In fact, most Cancer snakes will spend years evaluating whether a potential partner truly understands them, not just on a practical level, but on a soul-deep, intuitive plane. To them, marriage is sacred. It's not about social status, family pressure, or even fleeting romance. It's about security. Emotional security first and foremost, but also spiritual compatibility, shared visions for the future, and a deep sense of protection. They want to know that when the world gets loud and chaotic, their marriage will be a sanctuary, a place where they can retreat, recharge, and reconnect without having to explain themselves. They don't just marry a person, they marry a safe space, a future, a feeling. This deep need for safety is rooted in both sides of their personality. The Cancer in them longs for emotional closeness, connection, and nurturing. It wants to build a cozy, emotionally rich home where nothing is superficial and everything has meaning. The snake, meanwhile, brings strategy, control, and a need for structure. It wants to build a bond that's impenetrable, not just intimate but intelligently designed. Together, these influences create a spouse who sees marriage as a fortress, a place of warmth and softness inside, but surrounded by thick emotional walls. Those walls are there for protection, and they are high. But once inside, you'll find a world curated with care. Their home isn't just a living space, it's a love story told through shared rituals, meaningful traditions, personalized decor, and subtle signs of affection that are invisible to outsiders. Every corner holds a memory. Every object has emotional weight. Even the way they set the table or light the candles holds deeper meaning. But make no mistake, this loyalty is never blind, and it's certainly never unconditional. A Cancer snake brings incredibly high expectations into marriage, not because they're impossible to please, but because they invest so fully. They're not looking for someone perfect, but they are looking for someone attuned. Someone who can sense when their mood shifts, who doesn't need everything spelled out, who understands that silence doesn't always mean withdrawal, sometimes, it means they're testing the emotional weather before speaking. They need a partner who can read the unsaid. And if that partner fails to do so, consistently misses cues, dismisses emotions, or shows disregard for subtle needs, the Cancer snake will retreat. Not with drama or declarations, but with silence. Their punishments are quiet but deeply felt. They don't argue for dominance, they disappear to regain control. In conflict, they rarely explode. You won't see slammed doors or hear raised voices, unless they've reached an emotional breaking point. Instead, they respond with distance, cold detachment, or soft passive aggression that cuts with chilling precision. Their silence isn't just silence, it's loaded. It says everything they feel without uttering a word. And in that silence lies the snake's power, the ability to make their partner reflect, second-guess, and reach for resolution without ever being directly asked. But this emotional control can, at times, cross the line into manipulation. Their expectations can feel like invisible rules, and their partner may occasionally feel like they're walking a tightrope. Cancer snakes aren't controlling in the traditional sense, but they shape their environment in ways that suit their comfort, and if you deviate too far from that, you'll know it not through confrontation, but through withdrawal. Yet, and this is crucial, if their partner shows up with consistency, warmth, and emotional intelligence, Cancer snake individuals will reward them with a love that is as deep as it is rare. Their romance doesn't manifest in fireworks or spontaneous getaways, though they're capable of those when they feel safe. Instead, it shows in the details, in remembering your favorite childhood memory and recreating it, in preparing your coffee just the way you like it every morning, in anticipating your emotional needs before you speak them aloud. Their love language is layered, part caretaker, part strategist, part silent guardian. They will protect their partner from the world, and from their own emotional storms, with unwavering grace. They'll plan for your future, think of things you never considered, and prepare for challenges before they arrive. This foresight isn't controlling, it's loving. It's their way of saying, "I've got you." Even when you don't see it coming. Their version of commitment is total. Once married, they become bonded on a level most people never reach, a fusion of lives, emotions, goals, and even identities. They take pride in their role as a spouse, and they find deep joy in nurturing the marriage itself as a living, breathing entity. It's not enough to stay married. They want to grow the marriage, evolve with their partner, and continually deepen the intimacy between them. They'll initiate rituals to keep the spark alive, not always romantic, but deeply meaningful. Weekly check-ins, anniversary letters, spontaneous acts of care, and emotional recalibrations. They don't want to just survive together, they want to transform together. So yes, marriage to a Cancer snake is demanding. It requires emotional literacy, patience, and a willingness to go beneath the surface again and again. But the rewards are extraordinary. Because if you can navigate the layers, if you can hold steady during their moods, if you can learn their silences and honor their secrets, you'll gain something more than just a spouse. You'll gain a partner who is quietly brilliant, fiercely protective, romantically devoted, and always thinking not just of you, but of both of you, together, 10 steps into the future. Friendship, inner circle or nothing. Friendship with a Cancer snake is never casual, never lukewarm. It's an all-or-nothing experience, either you're inside their carefully guarded inner circle, or you're just another passerby in their emotional periphery. These individuals don't hand out trust like candy, they distribute it sparingly, cautiously, and only to those who've proven themselves over time. Loyalty isn't something they hope for, it's the price of admission. You might have long, pleasant conversations, shared jokes, even spend time in the same social circles, but unless you've consistently shown emotional maturity, discretion, and quiet loyalty, you'll never really know them. Cancer snake individuals are warm and polite on the outside, but behind that kindness is a locked vault filled with their true thoughts, fears, and vulnerabilities. Only a select few are ever given the combination. And once you're in for life. Unless you break the code, in which case, the door doesn't just close. It disappears entirely. When they do consider someone a real friend, it's with the same seriousness they apply to everything else that matters in their life. They are incredibly observant, the kind of friend who knows something's off with you before you do. You may think you're hiding your bad mood well, but they'll catch the slight hesitation in your voice or the change in your laugh. And instead of calling you out in a crowd, they'll text you later with a single line, "You okay?" That's their magic. Quiet care. Subtle loyalty. They'll remember the little things, the emotional details no one else notices, the way you stir your tea when you're anxious, the fact that your favorite childhood movie is something no one else your age even remembers, the exact kind of silence you need when you're upset. And when life hits you sideways, they won't just offer words, they'll show up. With soup, with space, with silence, with strategy, whatever love looks like in that moment. What makes them even more rare as friends is that they don't need constant attention or surface-level maintenance. They understand life gets busy, people drift, and energy fluctuates. But emotional presence? That's what they're tuned into. If you're present when it counts, when they need support, when they're silently struggling, when something really matters, they'll never forget it. You earn their friendship through consistency, depth, and above all, emotional integrity. They're not impressed by flash or flattery. They're moved by presence, protection, and truth. If you've stood beside them in the shadows, they'll walk with you through anything. And they'll do it not with grand speeches, but with loyalty so steady and unwavering that you'll feel it like gravity. But betray that loyalty? Even once? You might not even realize what you've done, and by the time you do, it's already over. Cancer snakes don't do loud exits or emotional outbursts. They do disappearances. One day, you'll wake up and realize they're gone, not physically, but emotionally. The messages stop. The warmth fades. The invitations dry up. And there's no confrontation, no dramatic send-off, no closure. Just distance. Cold, absolute, and irreversible. That's not revenge, it's self-preservation. The snake part of them sheds what no longer serves, and the Cancer retreats into its shell at the first sign of betrayal or instability. Together, they enforce one of the strictest emotional boundaries in the Zodiac. If they sense that you're unsafe, untrustworthy, or emotionally careless with what they've given you, they'll vanish like fog in morning sun, quietly, without warning, and with no way back in. This response might feel harsh to some, even unfair. But to a Cancer snake, it's not cruelty. It's necessity. Their inner world is so rich, so layered, and so sensitive that they simply cannot afford to keep people around who don't treat it with the reverence it deserves. They love deeply, give completely, and protect fiercely, but only once they feel truly safe. So if they cut ties, it's because somewhere along the way, something sacred was violated. And that's not something they forgive lightly. The snake never forgets a breach of trust, and the Cancer never forgets the feeling of being let down. Yet for those lucky enough to remain inside that emotional citadel, friendship with a Cancer snake is one of the deepest bonds you'll ever experience. They are intuitive guardians, quiet champions, and soulful confidants. They'll celebrate your wins like they're their own. They'll defend you in rooms you don't even know you're being discussed. And they'll carry your pain without asking for anything in return, just your loyalty. Just your presence. Just the truth. With them, it's never about frequency, it's about depth. And once you've earned that kind of friendship, you'll realize it's one of the rarest, most quietly powerful forces in your life. Business, the silent strategist. In the world of business, where loud voices and fast moves often dominate the scene, Cancer snake individuals operate in a different league altogether, one defined by discretion, patience, and precision. They aren't interested in being the loudest in the room. They're interested in being the most effective. Many people misread them initially, assuming that their calm demeanor and emotional intelligence make them soft players. But underestimating a Cancer snake in business is a mistake that competitors rarely make twice. These individuals are masterful strategists, intuitive like Cancer, calculating like the snake. They absorb every word in a meeting, observe every shift in tone, and file away every detail for later use. They aren't just listening, they're reading the entire room. While others burn energy in self-promotion, they wait for the exact right moment to move. And when they do, it's swift, subtle, and highly impactful. They don't need applause. They need results, and they get them. Cancer snakes excel in what you might call quiet power. They are naturally drawn to roles where influence is exerted behind the scenes rather than from a podium. You'll find them in fields like branding, strategic marketing, finance, UX design, psychology, and high-end real estate, careers where instinct meets intelligence, and emotion meets analysis. Their Cancer side gives them emotional insight. They understand client needs, sense team dynamics, and communicate in ways that soothe and influence. Their Snake side, however, ensures that every decision is data-driven, forward-thinking, and aimed at building long-term security. That's their endgame in business, not just success, but stability. They don't want to win today and collapse tomorrow. They want a business legacy that lasts, one they can control and protect. This makes them unusually good at managing money, forecasting trends, and identifying hidden opportunities others miss. Their networking skills are among the most underrated aspects of their business arsenal. They are not the loudest networkers, nor the most visible at every event, but they are among the most effective. They forge connections not through volume, but through precision. A Cancer snake remembers everything: the story you told them years ago, the name of your spouse, your go-to order at that lunch place you casually mentioned once. They store these details not as trivia, but as tools of emotional rapport. So when they reach out, it feels personal, like you matter. And that's the magic. Suddenly, you're doing business with someone who makes you feel seen, heard, and understood. And you don't even realize how strategically this connection has been built. By the time others are still handing out business cards, the Cancer snake has already locked in the deal, quietly, seamlessly, and without drawing attention to the win. They don't brag. In fact, you might not even realize how much power they hold until you see the results. They don't need credit, they need control. That's where the snake energy really shines. Behind their empathetic eyes is a mind always 10 steps ahead. They understand timing like a chess master, and they never make a move without thinking through every consequence. They can work a negotiation like a therapist and a tactician rolled into one. While others may burn bridges in pursuit of fast gains, the Cancer snake builds bridges silently, and then buys the land on either side. They are incredibly protective of their business interests and often operate under the radar until the moment of impact. And by then, it's too late for anyone to catch up. Their leadership style is equally unique. They don't command through force or intimidation. They lead by understanding. They know what motivates each team member, what stresses them, what inspires them, and they use that knowledge to quietly orchestrate success. They are especially adept at managing high-stakes, high-stress environments, because they absorb pressure and translate it into calm, calculated decisions. They may not be everyone's idea of a traditional boss, but their teams are often fiercely loyal. Why? Because a Cancer snake leader doesn't just care about the bottom line, they care about the people who get them there. That emotional depth fosters trust, and in business, trust is a currency more valuable than gold. Security, above all, is their true motivator. They're not reckless risk-takers. Every investment, every partnership, every pivot is examined from every angle. They build empires slowly, but they build them to last. Their success is often the result of 100 quiet moves, not one bold one. And they're perfectly fine with that. Let others chase glory. The Cancer snake chases sustainability. And once they find it, once they've built the systems, the strategy, and the safety net, they rarely lose it. So while others hustle loudly, the Cancer snake sits back, takes notes, and waits for their moment. Then, without warning, without drama, they strike. With elegance. With impact. And with a quiet confidence that says, I saw this coming long before you did. Dark side, the moon's shadows, the snake's bite. Every strength casts a shadow, and for the Cancer snake, their dark side isn't loud, explosive, or chaotic, it's quiet, strategic, and unsettlingly effective. These individuals are born with emotional depth and intuitive intelligence, but when they feel hurt, abandoned, or threatened, those gifts can curdle into weapons. When unevolved or operating from fear, Cancer snake personalities can become master manipulators. Their understanding of emotion, which, at their best, allows them to comfort and connect, becomes a psychological trapdoor. They know exactly which buttons to press, when to press them, and how to appear completely innocent while doing it. Emotional guilt-tripping becomes their go-to tactic, subtle comments that seem harmless on the surface but linger in your mind like smoke. They don't need to scream to control. A sigh, a look, a silent withdrawal, these say everything, and they say it loud. They don't want to fight. They want you to feel like the bad guy, even if they're the one holding the knife. One of their most destructive patterns comes from their need to be understood without explanation. Cancer snakes often expect others to intuit their emotions, to anticipate their needs, soothe their moods, and read between the lines. When that doesn't happen, they don't communicate directly. They create passive-aggressive traps. They drop hints, grow distant, or become sarcastic in ways that are hard to call out, but impossible to ignore. Their hurt becomes a quiet punishment. You'll feel it in missed calls, strange silences, and subtle jabs disguised as jokes. They don't explode, they erode the relationship, piece by emotional piece. And all the while, they keep score. Cancer snakes are infamous for holding grudges with a quiet, patient bitterness that can last for years. They might never bring up the offense again, but their behavior will shift permanently. They will subtly exclude, withdraw, or deprioritize the person who wronged them, all without ever acknowledging it out loud. The snake's contribution to their shadow self is secrecy, and not just innocent secrecy, but calculated withholding. When things go dark for them emotionally, they don't ask for help. They hide, they vanish, or worse, they stay physically present while emotionally checking out. Their partner, friend, or colleague may think everything is fine, only to realize later they were being quietly phased out. Cancer snakes are known for keeping emotional exit strategies, escape plans they never talk about, but always have ready. Just in case. They may pretend everything is stable while secretly building walls or relationships elsewhere. They lie by omission more often than commission, carefully curating what they share to maintain control. And when they're at their most toxic, they can weaponize that secrecy to maintain emotional power, letting people feel close without ever being truly known, all while extracting loyalty and care in return. And perhaps the most unsettling part. They often do all of this without breaking character. On the outside, they're still composed, kind, even nurturing. Their mask rarely slips, because they've spent their whole lives perfecting it. Their manipulations come wrapped in softness, and their punishments arrive in the form of silence, not conflict. They don't scream or slam doors. They simply stop letting you in, and let you figure out why on your own. This emotional ambiguity leaves others confused, self-blaming, and desperate for clarity, which, of course, the cancer snake won't offer. Not unless it serves a purpose. When emotionally unbalanced, their inner world becomes a labyrinth of fear, insecurity, and resentment. The cancer in them withdraws, creating a hard shell of isolation that's almost impossible to penetrate. They retreat into their feelings like a fortress, convinced no one understands them, no one can be trusted, and no one truly cares. Meanwhile, the snake spins narratives in the background, often paranoid ones. They may start to interpret harmless actions as betrayals, becoming suspicious of loved ones, co-workers, or even lifelong friends. This can lead to emotional isolation so deep it borders on self-sabotage. And yet, in that same space, they can become clingy and dependent, craving reassurance, but pushing people away the second they offer it. Their behavior becomes a contradictory loop, testing others to prove their loyalty, while simultaneously acting in ways that push those people to leave. What makes this dynamic so difficult is that it's wrapped in complexity. Cancer snakes are not villains, they're wounded empaths, operating from a place of deep emotional survival. Their darker behaviors often stem from real pain, past betrayals, childhood abandonment, or relationships where they gave everything and received very little. These shadows are not excuses, but they are explanations. And understanding them is the first step toward helping them evolve. When left unchecked, however, the Cancer snake's dark side can destroy relationships from the inside out. Not through explosions, but through erosion. Not through violence, but through silence. And if they don't learn to voice their fears, name their needs, and trust the people they choose to love, they'll eventually become prisoners of their own inner fortress, protected, yes, but also painfully, achingly alone. Life goals, security, legacy, and meaning. Beneath the emotional intricacies, behind the thoughtful gazes and the layers of charm and caution, the Cancer snake lives with one overarching purpose: to feel safe. But this need for safety isn't just about comfort, it's about total, multidimensional security. Emotionally, they seek relationships built on trust, loyalty, and deep, soulful understanding. Financially, they strive for stability, not out of greed, but because uncertainty threatens their peace. Spiritually, they hunger for a sense of belonging and inner clarity, something that can anchor them when the world feels chaotic. Every decision they make, every risk they take or avoid, is filtered through this internal radar: will this protect or expose me? This quest for safety is not weakness, it's their foundation. And once they establish it, they can build something far greater than personal comfort. They can create a world where others feel safe too. This is why their ambitions always reach beyond the present moment. Cancer snakes are legacy-minded, not in the loud, billboard-flashing way, but in the quiet, foundational sense. They aren't looking to simply climb a career ladder or start a family just to check boxes. They want everything they build to mean something. Their career must reflect their values. Their family must be rooted in emotional loyalty. Their work, no matter the field, must have lasting resonance. They don't dream in short-term wins, they dream in decades. And the way they move through life reflects that: subtle, patient, deliberate. Like the moon, their influence isn't always visible at first, but give it time, and it shifts entire oceans. Their long-term thinking is a strategic gift, allowing them to plan meticulously, invest wisely, and structure their lives in ways that provide both freedom and protection. But what drives them isn't just survival or success, it's the deep desire to protect what matters. Cancer snakes are natural guardians. They may not always say it out loud, but they constantly seek to create emotional havens for those they love. Whether it's crafting a home filled with warmth and personal history, building a business that takes care of its people, or nurturing friendships with deep emotional care, they are always working to create spaces, physical, emotional, and even spiritual, where people feel completely safe, accepted, and understood. Ironically, many Cancer snakes don't always feel that same safety within themselves, which makes their mission even more powerful. They give to others what they often crave most. They become protectors, providers, and emotional architects. And in doing so, they carve out a kind of meaning that transcends any single relationship or achievement. Legacy, for them, is personal. It doesn't require awards, followers, or headlines. Cancer snakes want to be remembered not by the world at large, but by the people who mattered. The lover who felt truly seen by them. The child they raised with unspoken love and unwavering protection. The friend who never forgot the time they showed up when no one else did. They want to leave fingerprints on hearts, not just paper. Their impact is often invisible to outsiders, woven into gestures, into guidance, into quiet sacrifices no one clapped for. But those who received it will never forget. Because when a Cancer snake loves you, believes in you, protects you, you carry that with you for life. That's the legacy they aim to leave behind. One built not on visibility, but on emotional permanence. They are not driven by fame. Recognition, if it comes, is a bonus, not the goal. Cancer snakes aren't interested in applause, they're interested in effect. They want to know that what they did mattered. That the spaces they created, the relationships they nurtured, the work they poured their soul into, all of it meant something. And because they are wired to operate beneath the surface, they often measure success in ways others overlook. A quiet child who finally feels safe. A partner who breathes easier because of their presence. A company culture that feels like family. These are not just accomplishments, they are victories of the soul. And those are the only kind of victories a Cancer snake truly cares about. In the end, their life goal is simple but profound: to create a world, even a small one, where love is protected, where purpose is nurtured, and where meaning is woven into every gesture. They don't rush toward that goal. They build it slowly, carefully, intuitively. And when they succeed, it doesn't just change their life. It changes the lives of everyone lucky enough to be part of it. So, who are they really? A Cancer snake is the kind of person you think you understand, until one day, they reveal a layer so deep, so emotionally intricate, that you realize you've only ever scratched the surface. They are living paradoxes, warm but private, nurturing yet guarded, intuitive yet calculating. They'll remember the tiniest detail of your first conversation, but you may not know the full story of their past until years later, if ever. They're the person who saves love letters you forgot you wrote, who keeps ticket stubs, birthday cards, and voice messages like relics of something sacred. Not because they're sentimental in a cliché way, but because for them, memory is protection, a way to preserve feeling, to hold on to the warmth of what once was in case it's ever needed again. They plan for storms no one else sees coming, always 3 moves ahead, emotionally, financially, spiritually, not to manipulate, but to shield the people they love from chaos they can't control. This is the emotional strategist. The one who knows how to comfort a crying friend without saying a word. The one who builds relationships like architects build temples, slowly, deliberately, with rituals you don't even realize are happening. They'll draw you in with kindness and keep you there with loyalty. But make no mistake, just because they're gentle doesn't mean they're soft. Cancer snakes are some of the most quietly resilient people you'll ever meet. Life may hit them hard, but you'll rarely see the full impact. They don't cry publicly. They don't rage. They endure, elegantly, intelligently, and with a strength forged in silence. And while they're often the ones holding others up, they rarely let anyone carry them. They'll protect everyone but themselves. Because to let someone in that deeply, that's the ultimate risk. That's the wound that never quite closes. They're tender warriors, emotional soldiers who battle life with compassion as their armor and intuition as their sword. And while they may not scream their victories or advertise their pain, they move through life leaving a quiet trail of impact. A child who felt safe because of them. A partner who finally felt seen. A friend who rediscovered hope in their presence. You may never fully understand them, their motives, their moods, their silences, and honestly, that's the point. A Cancer snake is not meant to be solved. They're meant to be felt. Known in waves, not all at once. Understood slowly, over seasons, like poetry, sometimes beautiful, sometimes tragic, but always worth reading again. Because just when you think you've reached their center, they'll show you another layer. Another truth. Another softness you didn't know was still possible in this world. So if you're lucky enough to know one, really know one, hold on to that bond. Don't demand explanations for every shift in mood, every silence, every protective instinct. Instead, show up. Stay consistent. Match their loyalty. And in return, you'll gain something rare, a soul-level connection with someone who sees you not just for who you are, but for who you could become, and who will quietly, fiercely protect both. And if reading this made you think about your own cosmic cocktail, your own hidden layers, your own emotional armor, don't forget to like, subscribe, and explore the rest of our Zodiac deep dives. Because the stars may not control your fate, but they sure do leave clues. Check the description below for more insights into the signs, secret combinations, and truths the universe has been whispering all along. Thanks for watching, and remember, the universe is always listening.